Hi everyone and welcome to SWPL My Story, and today we are joined by former Dundee United manager Graeme Hart, and we're going to do a look ahead to the weekend's fixtures. How are you doing, Graeme?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. A big weekend coming up right throughout the league. Some tasty fixtures as well that are going to mean a lot, just resting on one game. So we'll start off the first game of the weekend. It's a Friday night game under the lights at the Oriam. It's the Edinburgh Derby, which I just seen yesterday on Hart socials. It's a sellout, which is going to make for a really good night. Since the split, it's always difficult for a team that finishes in the top six when you're going to be playing Rangers, Celtic and Glasgow City twice. It's then you're looking, obviously they want to try and bridge that gap, but you're probably in likelihood, as much as they would admit it, you're looking at the other teams that are in that top six. So it's a big fixture. There's Hearts are ahead of Hibs by 3 points, so Hibs will go joint if they win that game. Hearts will give himself a bit of a buffer, so there's a lot to play for.
Yeah, I think this is obviously the big ones that these two clubs have targeted. They'll obviously have targeted to beat Partick, which both have done since the split. Um, but yeah, I think this is the big one in terms of, I think at the start of the season, both teams would have looked to have bridged the gap between themselves and the top three, but I think both teams had also been looking at fourth place as their main aim, along with sort of bridging that gap. And I think both teams have on occasions bridged that gap, and they've made it really competitive. I know Hearts have taken points off the top teams, and I think you just look at Hibs a couple of weeks ago, just before the international break, and 1-0 up in Rangers with 15 minutes to go. That probably doesn't happen that time last year. So I think the pair of them have done really well to bridge that gap. But when it comes to fixtures between themselves, I think they're really intriguing battles. I think both have got a sort of different styles, which makes it really, really interesting as a spectator to see which way it goes. And interested to see how this one goes at Oriam, because I know obviously they've had games at Tynecastle and Easter Road, which again I think when you move games away from where you're familiar of playing, it becomes a sort of an even keel, if you like. And Hearts are really good at Oriam, really, really good, and they've got a good record. And I think they drew with Celtic there earlier in the season, drew with Glasgow City, and I think they drew with Rangers there last season as well. So they've got a really, really good record at Oriam. They're a good side. So I sometimes feel when these teams move their games to a Tynecastle, it sometimes becomes a bit of a leveler. So I think it'll be a real difficult one for Hibs to go to Oriam, but I'm interested to see how it sort of pans out.
Yeah, so far this season, Hibs do have the upper hand in the derbies. I mentioned for Jordan Bowcom, who's been a revelation this season, probably unknown coming into the league, but playing with no disrespect to Hibs, playing in that team and getting the number of goals that she has, getting more goals than strikers in the top three. She's really spearheading that attack, and you talked about the contrasting styles. I really like watching Hearts, the way that they play, really expansive football, lots of pace. Katie Lockwood's been a player that was probably fair to say a bit of a squad player last year when she was at Hibs, and she's been probably up there as one of Hart's best players, playing a slightly deeper role, but then making those deep runs, and she's their top scorer. So it's going to be a really intriguing battle.
Yeah, and I think Grant's obviously done a real good job at Hibs and this season, and bringing a Jorian in, obviously to get the number of goals. I think that proves in terms of his recruitment levels and where his eyes are, and the knowledge of the game. To bring a someone of that caliber to get that amount of goals was really, really impressive. And I think Hibs probably go under the radar a wee bit, because they've got probably such a young squad, and you even look at players like Abby Ferguson, Tegan Bowie, who are young players that maybe didn't get the opportunity they deserved at Celtic or other clubs, and Hibs have taken a wee gamble with them, a wee chance, and I think it's proven worthwhile. And Hibs are relentless; they're really, really relentless. And for me, I think when you look at the flip side and how well Kate Lockwood's done, I think Kate Lockwood's the best number 10 in the league, in my opinion. I think she's really, really good. So hard to play against, so hard to defend, and she makes intelligent runs and just understands the game. And when she plays for Hearts, I think she gives them a massive, massive lift. So yeah, it'll be an interesting battle, and I'm actually going to it myself, so I'll be interested to see how it goes, and quite looking forward to it.
So then, probably the game that most people are looking ahead to is Rangers against Glasgow City. So tight at the top, Rangers ahead of Celtic by a point. City are 4 points off of Rangers, so with the depending on how the fixtures go, we could see a change at the top, but it could be down to only a point or two between the top three. So Rangers obviously off the back of winning the League Cup as well. They're in the pole position at the moment. They're like a machine at the moment. They're just going churning out win after win. Really relentless. A couple of injuries though that have kept up this season. Kirsten McLean's obviously the big one. I'm not too sure on where she's at with her injury. Rachel McLaughlin's been a miss as well. And then City they've kind of kicked on since Christmas. I think Fee Brown coming back in, it's just lifted everybody. When City were cut adrift a little from the top two, and they've got themselves right back into it. You can never count them out.
Yeah, and I think actually it's funny because I think probably the game against Celtic's the first time that probably for a long time this season that people have actually started thinking Glasgow City are going to do a Glasgow City here and go and win it. And they had obviously that wee knockback. And from listening to Leanne in her interviews, I don't think she was obviously happy with the performance that day. But you're probably looking at Glasgow City being back to the underdogs, and I think that's where they thrive. I think that's where Glasgow City getting written off or being the underdog or whatever you want to call it. I think they enjoy that, and because that's why they've been so successful over the years, and they've been the best team in the country for so many years. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, Rangers looking so dominant for so long, and then having a couple of wee hiccups along the way to draw me Partick and obviously Celtic obviously dropping points here as well. So it will be interesting, and I always think these big games are really, really interesting after international breaks because a lot of teams sort of lose a wee bit of momentum or sometimes take a wee bit of time to get back into it. And I used to actually enjoy playing against the big teams after an international break when we were sort of one of the lower down teams because you can sometimes catch them cold because they've got so many players away in international duty and stuff. So I think it'll be really, really interesting and intriguing to see what team is up to speed quicker. And I think that's probably what will decide the game is who starts the game sharper and who's not got that international fatigue because obviously both teams have players away. So it's sometimes challenging during that period to sort of manage your squad in a build up to such a big game, where they too will obviously very hard tactically to focus on the elements that you're going to focus on because you've got so many key players away. So I think it'll be quite an intriguing battle.
And then the final game in the top half, Partick at home to Celtic. They played each other after the split, or just before the split, sorry, already. And I hate to say it, but you feel like maybe the wind's a bit out of Partick's sails, or maybe running out a little bit of steam. It was a big blow, the losing the cup final. When the last played Celtic, it was 6-0 to Celtic, which wasn't a really Partick style performance. It's not what we've got used to. But do you see them maybe using that as motivation? As you said, that Celtic will have had a number of players away on international duty, and Partick can have had this time to plan for going into this match.
Yeah, I think the breaks probably helped Partick a lot because they've probably focused so much on that cup final, and rightly so, for them to get to that cup final and obviously get into the top six is an incredible achievement. So they've probably put so much energy and effort into that, and then to lose it and having done so well in the cup final, I thought they were really unlucky not to take the lead, and I thought it was quite impressive for a team like Partick to actually go and have a go. It's very easy against the big teams to sit in and defend, and they went and had a go against Rangers, which was really impressive as well. So, yeah, maybe that just took them a couple of weeks to get over that defeat because they'd put so much into it. But I think obviously knowing Brian and knowing the sort of group of players that he's got, go away, sort of recharge the batteries, and I'm sure they'll be ready to go again for the remainder of the games. And to be fair, Celtic are probably the most informed team in terms of they just look like they're starting to get things going. The new manager seems to have got our message across, and they've beaten Rangers, they've beaten City in the last sort of couple of months. So I think it's one that Celtic will certainly not be looking to have any slip ups. But again, I think Partick will have a lot more to say about things than they probably did the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's taken time with the new manager coming in at Celtic just to they had a slight change of formation. bringing Tasha Flint back in. I was on this with Emma Black, and we were talking about the partnership between her and Amy Gallagher. And the first couple of games they played together, they both kept dropping so deep to try and get on the ball. But if you look at the game against City, the assist that Amy Gallagher got for Tasha Flint's goal, when she's dropped deep, turned and played her in, it seems like they've now got a better understanding. And obviously that was going to take time. But they look much more of a threat now, and they were relying heavily on Amy to get the goals. But now you've got Tasha getting the goals. Caitlin Hayes is always a threat as well. I think she's their second top scorer this season for set plays. But it seems like they're now finding their way under the new leadership.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing, and I think they really targeted that in January was to get a striker in, and obviously to get the girl Flint back, it was a massive boost for them. I think everyone's seen last year how good she was in the run in, and obviously kind of just fell short in the end, and they were unfortunate. But I think that was a massive boost for them, and I think that's really helped them settle. But also on the other side, they've got the girl Ashford Clifford that's back in as well, and I think just before she got injured, I think she was looking like an unbelievable signing for Celtic, and obviously she was out for a long, long time, and she's just getting herself up to speed as well. So she's like another new signing, and her deliveries at set plays are really, really impressive as well. So I think having Flint and then obviously Ashford Clifford back in is like two new signings in January for them, because I think that will really help them and give them a bit of depth wise. You always felt with Celtic they've got real, real strong, but maybe just that wee bit of depth that maybe our Rangers had. But I think you look at the squad now and you can see if players are getting injured or players are struggling, they can bring on real, real bits of quality.
So looking down to the bottom half now, Motherwell are at home to your old club Dundee United. The game's getting played at Fir Park, so that in itself is going to be a booster for all the players, regardless if it's Motherwell or United. Motherwell have done well since the split. They've won both their games. They look really strong. They've got a good squad. For me, I'd expect Motherwell to win that. Dundee United are slipping down that league. They're joint bottom with Accies at the moment, so if anything, it's a must win for them, but also for Motherwell if they want to keep the pressure on Aberdeen just above them.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game, obviously. Having been involved in these games before against Motherwell, it's generally good footballing games, and I've actually watched Motherwell twice since the split, so I watched them against Accies and watched them against Aberdeen, and I think they've recruited really well in January. I think bringing in Laura Berry, Brooke Nunn, it was really, really impressive. And I said kind of before the split that I really fancied Motherwell to go on a good run. Once the split came, I think they were really unfortunate in terms of the points tally they had before the split. I think there was games that they probably felt that they should have been higher up in terms of points wise. And then obviously, I think there's not an awful. Obviously, Partick done really well to get in the top six, but I think that Motherwell and Aberdeen are probably two teams that probably feel they let a lot of points go silly in the first half of the season. So yeah, having seen Motherwell in the previous two games, I've been really, really impressed. I think when you've got a player like Amy Anderson in the middle of the pitch, I think she's top central midfield player. And she controls a lot of games, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, United will need to go there and obviously and try and get themselves some sort of result. Obviously, I've not seen much of them myself lately, so it's hard to kind of say how they've done under Susie, and obviously just looking at the results more than anything. But it's difficult in terms of seeing how they've actually been playing in those games.
Then looking ahead to Aki's taking the trip up to Aberdeen. I think that not the international break that's just been, but the one before probably came at the worst possible time for Aki's. They'd picked up wins. I think they picked up 7 points in January, and then the international break came, and they've kind of struggled a bit since then. Performances have been better, but it's a bit in fits and starts. Aberdeen losing to Motherwell last week, so they'll be looking to bounce back. It's always a difficult place to go when you're going to Aberdeen.
Yeah, Aberdeen are good at home. They're always good at home, but when you've got a player like Bailey Hutchison, you can score goals at any point. And to be fair, I thought Motherwell were by far the dominant team against Aberdeen in the last game, but Bailey Hutchison hit the bar and hit the post 3 times. So you've got a player of that quality, she can score goals out of absolutely nothing. And I think if Hamilton manage to keep her quiet, they'll give themselves a chance. I thought Hamilton's performance against Montrose in the last game, the 2-1 game where they lost a late goal, was pretty impressive because the way they bounced back from the game before. But Aki, that would be such a Hamilton thing to do is to go there and get a result, because when you write them off, they seem to produce big results, or big performances. So as much as probably you expect Aberdeen to win that, I wouldn't be overly surprised if Hamilton somehow produced a result there. And when you've got someone like Josie Giard in the team as well that can score goals out of nothing and is a constant threat. So I think it'll just all depend on the day of sort of that battle between who plays better out of Hutchison and Giard, who scores the most goals, because I think the two of them are top strikers, and both teams are probably really reliant on these strikers to turn up. So it'll be an interesting battle to see who produces the moments of magic on the day.
And then the final game in the league, and this is going to have a massive bearing on the relegation places. It's Spartans against Montrose. As it stands right now, Spartans are 6 points clear. They're on 16 points of Dundee United and Accies. Montrose are further 3 points ahead. Spartans win that game, it's then a 9 point gap back to the bottom two, which, given the number of games that those bottom two teams have won this season, looks like it's going to be difficult to overcome. If Montrose win it, it keeps Spartans within touching distance, but then it more or less guarantees safety for Montrose, taking them up onto 22 points as well. So there's a lot riding on this game.
Yeah, and I think the pair of them have had big wins in the past couple of games. Obviously, Montrose have beaten Accies and United since the split, and they obviously beat Accies last game before the split. So they're three massive results that 3 games ago you're looking at and you're thinking it's between 4 teams, and they've managed to produce the results. And then Spartans have obviously managed to, they scored late on against Accies, and then obviously just before the split, and then obviously they went and beat United again since the split. And it'll be interesting because I think Spartans have only won 2 games out of their last 16, and both have been against United. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes from a Spartans point of view, because there's no doubt in the ability they've got in that squad, and I think people have said it kind of all season is how good the players are, and it's just interesting to see them in that sort of position. But I think you've got to credit Montrose and how well they've done. And to be fair, they did take their time to get going, and I think in the last few weeks you've kind of seen how hard to beat they are, and they've scored a lot of late goals, and they've picked up a lot of points, and that's a sign of a good team that can manage to just keep picking up points along the way. And they're no settling for draws, even with 5-10 minutes to go. They're trying to go and win games as well. So fair play to them, they've done really well, and I think Montrose will probably take a point there. But again, knowing the sort of attitude and mentality they've got, they'll probably, if it's 10 minutes to go and it's 0-0 or 1-0, they'll probably throw the kitchen sink at it and try and score another late winner. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a late goal in that game either way, to sort of win it. But I think a draw probably suits both teams in that one. But again, it'll be interesting to see.
No, that's great, Graeme. Really appreciate your input. It's a exciting weekend that we've got coming up, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the games pan out. But thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for joining us on SWPL My Story.